I think there's a correlation between drugs and creativity. Absolutely. And I think when you've had a huge burst in Richmond creativity, I gotta say it's probably when the best drugs were in line with it. Like, and when the magazine started in 2005, I felt like it was so low key, and then we had like the best people having the best kind of like scene, but the scene was fed by also like, yeah, great drugs.
So for everyone listening, I'm here with R. Anthony Harris, aka Tony Harris.
That's true.
From you're the founder of RVA MAG.
Yes.
And you've recently branched out doing a media company, Major, Wharton Major Frost. So tell me about that. Tell me about your new venture.
Are we live right now?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Well,
we've been actually rolling while you talked about drugs.
Well, I think that's just something that's true.
Out,
no, you can keep that in.
Anything you don't like, we can get rid of. I beep stuff out all the time. I get rid of things.
Nah, I'm good. I think scenes are built on a lot of elements. People, it's always interesting to be around creative people that are just kind of on the edge of like being completely broke. There's desperation there.
You're looking right at
like real hungry, right? It's like, hey, we haven't eaten in a while.
Oh, no, I eat.
And someone, Jonathan eats, but it's like, someone just throw a fucking ribeye in the middle of a pit, and everybody's like, let's get that, And I really feel like in 2004, 2005, that was really the gist of it, and the fact that the city didn't care. The city has gone through an evolution, but at that time, it was still kind of like from the top down. It was like, the city doesn't make any moves until the people at the top make a move. And I feel like that little segment there.
So you wanted to make a magazine?
Well, Richmond culture was ripe for it. It was like, no one's talking about my friends. No one's talking about this guy who's painting. I thought that guy was brilliant. And I'd actually applied to the now defunct Style Weekly. I went and applied at the Times-Dispatch, and the Style Weekly one always got me. They were like, well, you have a lot of energy. I was just straight out of school. They're like, yeah, a lot of energy, but, we talk to people with kind of like master's degrees, and, you got to kind of have a master's degree to write for us. I was like, wow. Ain't that a crock of shit? Because it's like, You're missing out on that great band. You're missing out on that dude, like, creating this shit by himself. Like, and I've always been someone that was interested in people. And, having, and like a lot of people that worked on the mag with me had either family problems or, just mental problems in general. Like, art is a function or a reaction to not even not trying to conform, but just trying to fit in somewhere. So there's a lot of misfits, right? And I was like, wow, there's a lot more of these people than there are these people with masters reading Style Weekly, like in whatever you're showing at Reynolds Gallery. And
so you had more of an indie idea.
Yeah, I'm not, it's like, wow, there's all these landscapes, and hey, great, you're doing watercolors of dogs, killing it.
Yeah.
But there's nothing dangerous and nothing real about that. It seems almost like you guys are retired. And you're doing retired shit, like you're just let's do a painting of the James. Yeah. Again, it's like, okay, great. What about this guy that did a painting of the James and he put devils coming out of the water or something? It's like that's a little more
very Richmond.
Yeah, and I was just surrounded by all these folks, and WRR, the independent radio station, was really the impetus of. Oh, they just did this kind of DIY. These guys, they started a radio station that's FM and not corporate, and they did it from nowhere. If they can do that, then why not a magazine? And then the Gallery 5 opened up, and then so many other initiatives were right after that. It was a huge boom in people taking control of their destiny.
So you set out to make a mag, and that's what you did. I know that the second issue has a really interesting story to it involving sticky rice.
Does
I think
it?
it's the second one, right? Was it the second one?
I don't know. Did I write about sticky rice? It's been so long.
I think you worked at Sticky Rice and you were trying to get the second mag.
Oh no, I was at the fourth mag.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
the fourth mag, and I believe you gave me a copy of that. It's on my bookshelf. It's like one of my most prized possessions.
Oh, thanks, John.
Oh, I do love it.
I love
so
that.
cool.
It was the fourth mag was called "It's Time for Living," and so when we started the mag, it was I put a title on everything, and the only reason the mag existed was my father passed, and then it was like, okay, my mom was like, okay, now you can pay off your, it wasn't a lot of money. It was just 15 grand is what I was left. That was my inheritance, and from my father passing, he left me 2 nudie mags. One was like called Boobs. Yeah,
Do you keep those?
He literally left me
did.
2 nudie mags, and then I still have this, which is it's just a nail clipper set.
Oh, okay.
And
it kind of looks like a pencil sharpener.
This is what my dad left me. He left me this, 2 nudie mags, and he left an amount of money to my mom. He was military, and it wasn't a lot, but my mom gave me 15. And she's like, oh, well, you can pay off your student loans. You're working at Sticky Rice or whatever, or you can go take a trip. I'd always talked about taking like a trip or something. And it was like, well, I had worked on a magazine before. Now it's called Chew on This, with a bunch of guys and fronted by Johnny Mashi, who owns Sticky Rice. I was like, well, I'd like to give this magazine a shot. I think there's a hole there because it used to be Punchline. So Richmond media is always in a triangle. It's Richmond Magazine that deals with the conservative West Enders, and people in the fan. Kind of like this Richmond. I don't know what that Richmond lifestyle exactly is, but it's like
Metal music, or did that come later?
No, so what I'm telling you is Richmond Magazine dealt with these middle class Richmonders.
Yes, of course.
And then Richmond Times-Dispatch dealt with the general public. And then Punchline kind of dealt with the alternative people. So
Sure.
when Punchline went down, and I actually had gotten, they had a back page where they had like an illustration every week. I actually got in there finally. And then it went down like 2 weeks later. And then it was like, okay, so the snarky side of Richmond is gone. And when I was thinking about this mag, I was like, oh, there needs to be an art culture mag, And there's been several different other projects that people tried to do. But, it's like, well, not art that essentially you can see in a hotel or it's so safe. I want to deal with people that were like expressing like their feelings and how difficult it is to be alive and be alive in Richmond.
So the fourth one, I believe you had like a hard time printing it, so you got some assistance and
yeah, I ran out of money.
Right.
And I was rolling sushi at Sticky Rice, and that day was really difficult because I had already designed it. And what I had done was, I wasn't a born businessman. I had overspent on the first 3. And in my mind, it always is, the first issue is your idea. The second issue is building on that. And your third issue, people will go, okay, now you're being consistent, and now you can start getting advertising.
Right.
They're like, you're going to be around. Like if I give you $500, like I go to the sandwich shop and be like, do you want to advertise? It'd be cool. I'm going to give it out for free or whatever it is. People want to know that you're going to print it, right? So by the third one, you kind of like, okay, I got a couple of ads. And the business model was building the base on MySpace at the time and throwing parties. I had 10,000 or 11,000 people on MySpace. And then I had 400 people come to the parties at Gallery 5, pay $5. And it was like, okay, that pays for the print run, right? Ran out of money, and I go into work and I started rolling sushi, and I guess I was upset. The owner came over and was like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Well, I have this magazine designed, but I don't have any money to do it." And he said, "Well, how much do you need?" I said, "Well, I need about $4,000. At the time, I'm making what, $11 an hour? Not even that, probably like 10. Sushi Chef got a little bit more money.
Yeah.
Like the minimum wage was like $7 at the time.
Back then, yeah, I remember making $7.
Yeah.
Or I think
$7
it still is
is
$7.
terrible.
I think
Yeah.
$7.25 is still the minimum wage.
I don't know. I think it's
believe it
gotten
is.
better, right?
Just no one's that much of a jerk to pay you that in these times anymore.
I mean, what the fuck? The $7 an hour, like you can't even. It's a coffee. You work an hour for a coffee, and like.
I think it's more designed for like high school students, but then again, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't want to pretend to know economics.
Me
of
either.
that sort
I don't
of, but,
know much.
So he's like, well, after your shift, because he liked me. I'd worked on the magazine that he developed that actually went down. Chew on This actually ended up not existing anymore at this point. And he knows that I would work like 50 hours a week. I was whatever, but I didn't ask him that. He just asked me to come with him to the bank. So I had an inkling like, oh, well, that's different, right? He goes to the bank. He goes to teller and pulls out 4Gs. And it's in a knot. Like it's in a roll.
Oh, yeah.
And at the time, it was like, wow, I hadn't really seen that kind of money, Not me personally. I had some friends that sold weed in art school. I'm sure they had that money, right?
Sure.
But I wasn't that guy. So I was always very broke. And he's like, how are you going to pay me back? I said, well, I'll pay you $200 every paycheck until it's paid back.
And so you did.
Yeah. And I'll work at Sticky Rice until it's paid back. And then, that was kind of a big risk because, you do a 4th issue of the mag. Is it going to start paying for itself? Am I just bullshitting? I don't even know. But either way, I was committed to, I'll work at Sticky Rice till it's paid back. And even if the magazine doesn't work out, then that's what it is.
I wanted people to hear that story because I want them to know how passionate of a guy you are. It's so true. I don't know, man. Like, you know what you want and you get it. You have this ambition about you that's unique.
I think there was nowhere else to go. It's almost like at that point, the magazine, I've been working on it 4 issues. We're coming out every month. And everybody got to know me as the guy. And then everybody also expected it not to work. So it's kind of like, it's a matter of pride. It's like, a buddy of mine told me, he said, look, the only way it's going to work is you're working when everybody's working. You're working when everybody's sleeping. That's the only way you're going to get ahead. And if you want it, that's where you have to go. So
I have to sleep though. I'm so freaking. I have sleep apnea.
Yeah. So
I wish I could just not sleep and work and not die.
I go into work at 4, Sticky Rice, work until 10:30, clean up. We'd have drinks. I get home about midnight or so. If there wasn't shenanigans going on, I'd go home and work. And I'd work until 3 on the magazine, wake up, do it all over again, and try to get people involved and try to get people excited. And the more I interviewed people, the more other people came to want to be writers. I think what you have to do if you're trying to do something like that is have backbone and essentially like, hey, look, you guys are all contributing. No one's making any money. But at the end of the day, this magazine's coming out because it's on me. So I took a lot of pride in that. Magazine always came out. Everybody that contributed to it saw their work. They got excited. More people came to the parties. Eventually it was like, okay, now people are advertising. And, the first iteration was $5 a magazine. And then eventually it's like, let's just go free. And we would do 5,000 and just put them out.
Sick.
And we really made a move. Like we kind of changed people's minds and create a little scene, and
it's the coolest story, man. But and then I guess COVID came along.
No, you're jumping like 15 years ahead now because that was in 2005. So COVID's like a thing.
Well, I mean, it went strong for a pretty long time, right?
Well, the first big thing was the financial collapse 2009.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened in 2009?
So 4 years in, it was like, okay, magazine, no one's advertising. There's a huge panic.
We're going to edit this so that I sound like a better interviewer.
You're a great interviewer.
Okay.
But,
well, I just want to...
So there's been like 4 cycles now. Really, the financial collapse in 2009. Then I had my kid, at the same time, which was, I felt like, for me personally, it was great. I fucking love having a boy. But it also felt like the people that were around me, they're like, oh, how are you going to be a parent? You like run like the ultimate party thing. Which was what it was. It's like we have to throw parties to like keep this thing alive. And
yeah, I saw I've read them.
Yeah, it was interesting there, and then Then 2012, we had the Hat Factory thing. EDM just got really big in Richmond. That was another move. And then the Charlottesville thing happened in 2015, 2016.
Right.
And then it switched from, we were kind of this fun, artistic, cultural thing with a lot of artists around, to like, okay, now we have a serious like social voice. And then how do we layer those two things together? And right around that time, I was like, well, I'm going to just leave the magazine and go to New York. So that was
you
like,
went to New York.
I went to New York for a year.
Yeah. What made you come back to Richmond? I always say Richmond's kind of like the island from Lost.
It was good for me because you get a bit of perspective because, New York, no one gives a fuck about what I did in Richmond. So I joined the little artist studio, ended up managing the studio, understanding how to network in New York. And honestly, I feel like I could have done well in New York, but it would have been like another 5-year commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really have to like grind and get to know people and move up. And
you make it there, you can make it anywhere, they say.
But the epiphany was, okay, I've been here a year. Things are happening back in Richmond. I got a fresh kind of perspective on it. It's like going from being a big fish in a small pond to being a no fish in a huge pond. And then coming back and going, well, appreciating like, it's almost like being away from maybe a girlfriend or something. Like, oh yeah, that was kind of rough, but it kind of was great.
Yeah.
She kind of was kind of awesome. And like, maybe I fucked that up, So like then trying to come back to Richmond and then trying to figure out my role, because the magazine at that point started rolling on its own.
Yeah, of course. What year you think it was the Charlottesville thing, 15, 16, where you started making a shift that was more political?
It just had to happen. It was the first march on the monuments. There's 10,000 people that marched on the Lee Monument, I think in 2015.
Wow.
And then Charlottesville happened a year or two later.
Oh, I do remember that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, everybody was on Monument, right? And they're like, take
yeah.
this fucking statue down. And then Charlottesville was real kind of like, whoa, there's people, around the Jefferson statue in Charlottesville. Remember the torches, the tiki torches?
Oh, so awful.
It was really crazy, right?
Yeah,
and then the next day, it was just like people attacking each other. It's like, and then Trump, it's like, well, okay, so we had held a cultural relevancy. We had started the idea of RVA MAG. The city adopted that in 2009, right? That RVA was going to be the official designation after RIC.
Right.
So we had all these big successes, but then it was kind of like, because we were always independent, the energy had to be there. And then we never got like huge advertisers and stuff to sustain us. So it was always built on like mom and pop restaurants and shops and stuff like that. When I left for New York, I was like, I really, maybe I'm not the right person to run this magazine,
Sure.
Because I had built it on, talking to artists and getting to know artists. And then there's this whole social thing that's a bit heavier. And maybe I'm not the right person to pilot the magazine through this. And there was a bunch of younger people involved too. So then it's weird when you started, I was 27. By the time I went to New York, I was 38. And the target market for the magazine is probably early 30s. It was like I was kind of almost creeping out of my own target audience,
Yeah.
I was like, maybe you guys need to do something. I'm going to go to New York and maybe work as an artist or I just wanted to be close to like I lived like 4 blocks from where Biggie Smalls was born. And
Sick. I
in
love
Bed-Stuy, which was dope. I lived in the Lower East Side. I lived in the building that the movie Kids was shot in.
What movie is that? I'm sorry.
Kids. You ever
Kids.
seen that?
Bye.
I forget his name, but Rosario Dawson was the girl in that, and Chloe Sevigny. I lived in that building. I lived with Rosario's family. I lived right above her brother, her father, and right below her uncle.
Wow.
And I lived in her mother's apartment in that old building. So I had a really cool like New York experience. I met Albert Diaz, who was partners with Basquiat when they were tagging things in downtown New York called Samo.
Yeah.
So I had a great experience, and it was like I was nobody. They didn't give a shit. You know, just like this guy. And then, but it kind of made me realize like, oh, how great and rich Richmond is. You know, there's so many cool people, and maybe it's my responsibility in some way to tell these stories. And I got kind of re-energized, and I came back, and then I got a job straight away in corporate for a year.
Hey, y'all blew up on Instagram though. I think it was over like the George Floyd, or maybe even before that. But I know that gave you
the Floyd, the unfortunate events around George Floyd and the
terrible.
Yeah, we got written up in the New York Times, you know, as an Instagram to follow for essentially what's going on the ground,
right?
You know, independent of what's being written, and so that was a huge deal. And now we're finally, I wouldn't say we're post COVID, but definitely as business
getting along.
Yeah, as businesses are doing business.
Yeah,
we're definitely in a good spot.
But in the meantime, you've ventured off into a media kind of production company. With
Joey absolutely.
And Kim.
Yeah, Joey and Kim. Last summer, during the height of COVID, they announced that they would open the national parks. And my son lives in Sonoma, California. And luckily, I got, I guess, fired from my corporate gig. It was great.
Laid off or fired?
I don't know. What is it called when you're not fired quite yet? They kind of put you on hold, but eventually they let you go.
Laid off.
But it was great. It was great. It was like, okay, I was going to quit anyway.
Right.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, so I'm getting paid. I got fired. Great. It's like, I asked a few people. I was like, hey, do you want to travel with me cross country? They're like, hell no. COVID's happening.
Yeah.
And I was like, I totally get it. It's fine. So I just left, and I left on a Thursday, and then I think I hit Nashville on Friday. And damn, if there wasn't a protest, and I was in downtown Nashville, and there's a protest in front of me, and this stuff happened in Richmond somewhere around that time. Yeah, Richmond was on fire. I started getting calls. People started checking the RVA MAG feed. Then I'm in Nashville, seeing it all happen. Then I went to Little Rock the next day, again, protest. Then I was in Amarillo, protest. Like the protest kind of followed me. At the same time, everybody that hadn't been involved with the magazine and still involved with the magazine was like, yeah, man, everybody's checking out RVA MAG to see what's going on in the streets. Because we're getting people sending us stuff. Not even solicited. They were just like, hey, will you show this? Because the way the media is presenting this, especially the conservative media in Richmond, they're not showing the other side. They're just showing like, oh, rioters, evil.
Vandals.
Yeah, vandals.
Evil.
Yeah, burning
Antifa.
stuff. And it's always Antifa. It's like vandals and stuff. And it's like, wait a second. There's legitimate concerns from people on the street, and they're frustrated, and no one's
like, no one cares why. They're just Antifa.
They're just whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of an eye-opening experience of like, oh, the magazine there's a real need for the magazine. There's a real voice. And I spent 2 weeks on the road. I went and saw my son, came back, spent time with my son here in Virginia. And then it was like, okay, well, it's almost come full circle. You know, Arts Magazine, a bunch of misfits.
Sure.
Now it's more refined. It's been around for a while. Social commentary. People need an outlet that's not corporate. Because, ultimately the mag is only like 5-6 people. Yeah. You know? And I don't think people understand that. They think we're whatever, but it's really only like 5 or 6 people. And we're adding more people, thank God, because there's business is coming back. But at its core, it's only like 4 people.
Right.
So the decision making is like, oh, how do we represent well? How do we grow the business? How do we manage all these different aspects? Because some of the aspects just grow on their own. You become more responsible, and you're trying to figure out how to represent people well and stay true to your own voice. There's a lot in there. And the media company came out of that, where that was happening in Richmond last summer. I went on the road to kind of figure out where I want to put my energies, and I want to do video and film. I want to tell stories. Because I've been telling those stories in print. But now it's just like, okay, well, print is almost non-existent. It doesn't even make sense to make a magazine if people can't even go out because of COVID. It doesn't make sense. But what makes sense, everybody's on their phones, and the best way to cut my teeth is to do music videos, or a video for this guy,
Nate?
My friend.
Right?
Yeah, or Nate, or Ryan Kent that did poetry.
Of course, yes, I like Ryan Kent.
Yeah, Ryan Kent's great.
He's such a cool guy. Wow.
But it's like, okay, let's just kind of experiment and cut teeth. And I had done some video in the past, but really just knuckle down and go, I'm all in on that. And I did a few videos. Ryan Kent, Hustle Season really come to mind. I did Microwaves thing. I did Jonathan Facka's video, which was great. You should check that out.
we had a good time.
That was a really good time. It was a little hot.
Hot on one day.
A little tense, but it was great. And then, before that, after my first couple videos, Joey Wharton, who's a fantastic photographer, is really one of the best in town. If you hadn't checked out his work in terms of energy, in terms of doing work with bands and brands, and then
I second that.
Yeah, he's just got a great vibe on that.
He took pictures of me multiple times, and I really enjoy working with him. He cares about what you want to do. He has your agenda. You know what I mean? He's just a good guy.
Joey's one of the most genuine people I've ever met.
I know, it's wild. I'm like, this guy is. I'm just waiting. I mean, it'll never happen. But I'm like, is he ever going to do something? Well, that was a dick move. No, he's just genuinely, he's just a great good guy. He's just a great guy. It's amazing. Yeah, he's such a good guy.
And then you give him a few drinks, and he is a wild guy.
Yeah, I haven't. Well, we had a couple at the airport.
Yeah.
But that wasn't anything excessive.
Yeah. And then, I've known Kim for a long time. I did an interview with her in the second issue back in 2006. And
wow.
She's a fantastic photographer. So getting in that triangle of two great image makers, and then what I bring video wise, but also design wise, and then I just know a lot of people. I can connect a lot of dots. That's really what I'm best at, is kind of connecting people. Like, oh, you should meet this person. That makes sense. You guys should work on something because you guys, it makes sense. Like, kind of developing scenes and kind of getting people to collaborate.
So we're in your studio right now. We traveled for you. We wanted
I appreciate it.
But this is where you do most of your work. Yeah, well, at least editing, and then Kim and Joe are taking pictures in there. Is that basically the gist? And this used to be Baja Bean.
Yeah, we're right above the old Baja Bean, if people remember that. And it's become like a really creative little zone. There's all kinds of people in this building, and I'm very happy. I think the sweet spot is getting to a point where you're doing the work you want to do. You have to give up something a little bit. I do some corporate projects, whatever. But in the long run, every day I get to choose my own adventure. I get to meet and hang out with interesting people. I get to set my own hours. I'm responsible for myself. I always felt like that was the best for me, and some people don't like that kind of freedom, but it's just kind of swimming through all this stuff and being like, oh, I just met this person. Let's talk to that person. How does that help? Oh, what's that guy person? What's that person doing? Can that, can any of this fit into what I'm doing? Or is it just, can we help promote them on the website? Using the magazine. I have a really sweet spot of like being able to create, and then I have a megaphone.
Yeah.
It's a really kind of a unique situation to be able to, hey, if I'm not doing creative work with you or for you, I can at least get you profiled and get your name out there. 400,000 people go to the website a month. It's like, there's only 200,000 people in Richmond.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
it's like crazy, right?
yeah, I've been in the mag twice for 2 videos, and yeah, I've always loved the response and appreciate the. It was actually my dream when I first started playing music was to get covered in RVA MAG. So now it's happened twice. So I don't know what my dream is.
Oh, your
now,
dream just happened twice. That's amazing.
My dream happened twice. My dream did happen twice. I don't know, man. Yeah, I mean, you're just a great guy. I'm really glad I met you.
Oh, thanks,
you're
man.
just a genuine guy who works his ass off. What do you think the future is for you? Doing more of this? Do you have? What are your dreams?
I guess one of the biggest things I had a problem with, I started the magazine. I had a 5-year plan. So that's what they tell you, right? You start a business, and you're like, I got a 5-year plan. Well, I got the 5 years, and I was like, I don't have a fucking plan. I was like, what happens after this, right? The 5-year plan was like to have a magazine and then have people use RVA as their kind of the code for the city. And I was like, I want to throw the biggest party ever, Richmond ever. And I did, the Carytown thing. I had 24,000 people, legit. And I could say legitimately, I was the spear of, I was the tip of the spear of that. It was like, oh, and I felt overwhelmed. I was 28. And looking out, I was sitting on top of the bird looking out, and it was 9 blocks back. And everybody's having a blast. And I was like, wow. And then I was still rolling sushi. So my sushi manager came and was like, I can't believe this. I was like, I can't believe it either, So we kind of hit those heights really early. And it was like, well, I don't really know what to do after that. Because I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know how to run a media company. I just knew that I was good at trying to focus this energy. There's like so many people with energy coming around. It's like, oh, how can I help? Oh, let's put you right here. Let's do this, whatever. And, I'm happy the mag's still around. I'm happy that it has social relevance and we're helping people that are underrepresented, whether they're artists or minorities or whatever, have a voice, because everything else in town is corporate media, and they're so out of touch.
Yes.
They're so out of fucking touch. And
I don't know if out of touch is the word. I think it's like they
have another
they have
agenda.
an
maybe?
agenda.
Yeah, maybe
and
that's
they're saying things to meet their agenda. So maybe they're in touch, but they're just they are deliberately ignoring cherry picking.
Maybe.
Sure. Well, I maybe that's just the cynic in me coming out and just assuming that they're out there suppressing information because it doesn't fit their.
Well, I guess in their defense, they have limited staff too. Everybody can't get out. A lot of them have families, so it's a different vibe. I think the magazine will continue to mine younger talent.
Yeah.
Because I think it does need to stay like, what are 20 to 30-year-olds doing? What are they thinking about? I think that's where it needs to be. It doesn't necessarily mean me driving that conversation. I'm in a good spot where I get to pick like, oh, I want to interview a Jonathan Facka, or I want to interview this person. The magazine gives me an outlet to essentially ask anybody that I want to interview. And that's kind of that was the basic dream, It's like I always had this idea of like, oh, it'd be really cool to talk to this person, but I don't have any reason to talk to this person. I'm just a person hanging out in this situation, but maybe one day. And then it was like, oh, now I have a completely legit reason to be like, hey, what are you doing with your paintings? Or yeah, that's a crazy, dance thing that you just did. What is that? Can you explain that to me? Or poetry or whatever it is. So I don't know exactly what the future is. I know the magazine has a purpose. I think it has a place. I think the people that work on it work really hard, and that's besides me. There's other people. And I'd love to see it like continue to just grow and start reaching out across the state even, it's like,
yeah.
And
RVA MAG has established itself as an iconic piece of Richmond history. I mean, like, it's not going anywhere. I'm serious. It's such a huge deal. My favorite thing about it was, of course, when you cover musicians.
Yeah.
I really believe in the Richmond music scene. There's a diversity to it. I'm a little biased towards singer-songwriters and like, indie rock and, my genre. And
Well, you haven't started your rap career yet.
haven't started the rap career.
That'll be out next year, I think.
I used to write raps in high school. I don't know why.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. So, but they were bad. They were about me being fat and never, whatever. They were an outlet. It's posed like I'm not getting any ladies or whatever. I got 2 chins. I don't know. So, I created this podcast because I wanted to highlight the Richmond music scene, and now or the music scene specifically, but now I've been kind of branching out.
Okay.
And now I really do I like this interview a lot because more people need to know about you and the way you contributed to media in this city,
right?
And how important you are in that. And I wanted to interview you for that.
Well, that's a lot to take in. I think it all comes from a good place. I feel like the magazine took off because it was a lot of people that were looking for a place, like looking for a community. And then essentially we just sold them like Richmond is the community. Like this is the scene. Like you want things to happen, then you need to invest in it. And if you invest in it and you take some chances, there's a magazine. The magazine wants to profile you, like let people know. So it's just kind of like, it was a good cyclical kind of give and take there of, hey, you're invested, I'm invested. We want to tell people about you. You want people to know about you. This all works out for everybody. And, let's have a drink at the Camel or whatever it is, or any one of these great bars in town. And then that just begets, more and more people wanting to be involved with it. So then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I met this person. I didn't know the person. Great. They're involved. That person wants to do something. And then all of a sudden you have a scene, and then you have a media outlet that wants to talk about you and people that care about it. And this thing gets nurtured. And it's not only the magazine, but like a Gallery 5 or WRR or any one of these other venues in town and great organizations. There's so much that sprung out of that initial 2005 to 2007 era that helped make everyone else realize that Richmond was this great place. You started seeing in 2013, essentially 7-8 years later, like we're on top 10 lists for food and people want to come hang out here, like Austin or whatever.
Wow, what a city. You know what? And I went and lived in Arizona for a while, and I regretted it. I wanted to come back. Well, because I hadn't lived anywhere else. Then when I did, that's when I wanted to come back here.
Was it too hot for you?
People take, it was desolate and lonely.
There you go.
I used to go for a walk in the desert by myself, and there wouldn't be any cars anywhere, and the stars would be insane. I mean, it was pretty cool.
It is cool. I love the desert.
But it was lonely, and I was ready to come back because there's always somewhere you can go in Richmond where you won't feel lonely. It's pretty cool.
There's a lot of that. My dad used to watch this show, Cheers.
You want to go where
everybody knows your name. So, and now I know how I feel old in some ways because I go to certain bars and it's like, hey, they know me. But it's also very comforting. It's like, oh, I've invested my life here.
Yeah.
And that's what when I came back from New York, that was kind of a key thing. Like, all right, where do I really want to put my roots? And having spent some time away, and Richmond's like an abusive spouse, but also like a can't be without her kind of deal.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like a kind of like, I
That's
gotta be
a really
back here.
unique way to look at it. I believe the future for you is very bright with this media company, everything like that. Do you want to plug your company or like, okay, so what kind of clientele typically reaches out to you? And if they wanted to reach out to you, like, how could they do that?
I guess just check out the Instagram for me and Major, and it's 4 underscores. I couldn't get the
Major with 4 underscores.
I couldn't get the third one or the second one.
Of course, RV. If you're not following RVA MAG on Instagram, what the hell's wrong with you?
RVAMag.com, RVA MAG on Instagram. Also, Joey Wharton on Instagram.
Joey Wharton, check him out. And Kim Frost.
Kimberly Frost.
Kimberly Frost, yes.
That's kind of the core group people. And
so they can reach out to you on IG.
Yeah, that's probably the best way.
Yeah,
actually, I think that's replaced like taking someone's phone number.
Sure.
Have you noticed that?
Sure. It's very effective. But you make great stuff. We had a great time making that that airport video. Is sick, man. It's one of my favorite things I've ever, if not my favorite thing I ever made. It's just wild.
Well, I love that I got to meet you, and
Yeah.
then it's like,
thank you. I'm so glad.
And we gotta put you in some future video stuff.
Since I did the Butcher Brown video.
Yeah,
everybody wants me in there.
You're an ascending star, man. You got.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened with the Butcher Brown thing. I don't know. I don't know how that. Actually, I think Hourglass Sessions just goes, "Hey, we need an extra for something," and I was like, "Okay." And I get there, and Butcher Brown is there, and I'm like, "What's up with this?" They're like, and they're like, "Oh, you're not an extra. You're like a main character in the story that they're trying to convey."
I don't think they could hide you because you're like, "Oh, let's just put him in the background." It's like, "Oh, he's a big guy."
So I played the devil in that, being a record company executive. And if you look closely in the video, because everything goes by like really fast, there's a piece of paper on the desk. And,
I saw that a record deal.
Yeah, but it says the company name is Your Soul Records or Your Soul Management or something like that. Oh, it's great. I really love Marcus, Morgan. I love all of them. They're really great people. And
people should come see you at the butcher shop.
I started cutting meat again. I used to do that, but I'm doing it part-time just for a little extra scratch in the downtime. But I am going on a little So Far Sounds tour. I'm playing in Texas. We got a couple of sold-out shows down in Texas. Where
yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to go play in Houston and Austin and Dallas, but one of those got canceled, and I can't remember which one it is. So,
well, your album is great. People should listen to it.
This man made it right here. Thank you, Tony.
Mr. Clem over there.
Yes.
There you go.
He engineered it, and he's building a new studio. And,
I saw that.
Yeah, so this podcast was originally designed to promote Go West as well.
Okay.
Go West is the name of his production company or his studio.
Awesome.
So once that gets done, then I'm going to be able to have like some more full bands in there, because typically on here we have like a performance.
Okay.
But you don't play music. You want to sing a song, Tony?
Dabba-doo bop bop. That's all I got. I can
Right
do.
on,
I can
Tony,
do a
that's
little.
fantastic,
Like,
Tony.
what is that called? What's that? Scatting.
Scatting. He just
Jabba-
scatted it out, dude.
Dabba-doo bop bop. We're done.
Right.
Right?
I wanted. Yeah, we're about done. I wanted to say.
Bop bop.
I wanted to say thanks so much for coming on the show. It's also, this is a young show. It's my dream to kind of just, have a podcast where we talk about things going on in Richmond, mostly music focused and everything like that. And if there's nothing else you might want to plug, anything
I'm
like that?
auditioning for Jonathan's next album.
Oh, you can come on the album.
Shabba bop boom.
All right, I'll put it on there.
Dabba-doo. All right, we're out.
That would be the best like Easter egg. Since we said it on the show, now you got to do it. So I say a stupid tagline at the end of the show.
Okay.
It goes, "This has been the way life am, and that is just the way that it am."
Do bop bop doop. Done. Thank you, John. Thank you, Clem. I appreciate you coming by the studio.
Absolutely wonderful.
Happy to be here. Thank you.